You weren't in that room. That's the first thing I need you to understand. You weren't there. You weren't supposed to be there. And that's exactly why it happened the way it happened. Because there is a version of people that only exists when you're not around. A version that the guard down. A version that isn't managing anything, isn't performing anything, isn't choosing words carefully so they land a certain way. And that version, that one, said something about you in front of someone in a moment they weren't planning. And it was not what you think it was. It was not close to what you think it was. Stay with me all the way through this, because by the end of this, you're going to understand three things. What was actually said, what saying it out loud changed something in them permanently, not for a day, permanently, and why you of all the people involved are the one person who has never been able to hear it. That last part is the whole key. That's the part that unlocks everything. So, stay. You've been walking around assuming a certain thing about yourself. Not loudly, quietly, underneath everything. The assumption is I'm probably not landing. That's the belief. When you leave a room, you assume you left natural. You assume people move on. You assume you're a mild presence, a background presence. Easy to forget, easy to walk past, and every time you don't get a reaction, the assumption gets a little bit stronger. He didn't say anything. She didn't react. Nobody made it obvious. So nothing must be happening. Here's the truth. The absence of reaction is not the absence of any effect. Those are two completely different things. And you spent years mixing them up. People don't show you what you do to them. People almost never show you what you do to them, especially not the ones who feel it strongest. Those were the ones who showed you least. I'm going to explain exactly why in a minute. Because the reason is going to make your heart hurt in the good way. What you've been reading as nothing is happening was actually everything is happening somewhere I can't see. And now let me give you the whole real picture because this is how I understand it. And once you see it, you can't unsee. Okay? Your whole life is about to change right now, believe me. Think about a bell, a big one. The kind that hangs in a tower, heavy, quiet, sitting down doing nothing for most of its life. Nobody looks up at it. It's just part of the building. And then somebody strikes it. The strike, that's all it takes. And the sound leaves. Now, here is what I need you to sit with that. Once that sound leaves the bell, there is nothing on this earth that can put it back. Nothing. You can grab it. You can't apologize it, okay? It's gone. Out of the roofs over the streets into every room with an open window, into people who weren't even listening for it. The whole valley hears it. Everyone who heard it will remember there was a bell and it just kept traveling. Whatever the bell wants it to or not, that's what happened. When they said it, they struck something. They didn't plan to. It came out. And the second it was out of in the air, in front of a witness, in their own voice, it stopped being a thought and became a fact. That's the thing about saying something out loud. A thought can be denied, a thought can be reasoned, but a sentence that has already left your mouth in your own voice in front of someone else. That's one's out. That one is traveling, and they've been living inside the sound of it ever since. But hold on, because there is a second half to this picture, and the second half is about you. A bell does not hear its own sound. Think about that. Really? Think a second, okay? Take a second about that. The whole town hears it. Every person in every house hears it. But the one thing on this earth that will never ever hear that tone the way everyone else hears it, it's the bell. The bell is too close. The bell is inside the sound. Oh, the bell feels is a strange vibration, a shaking it doesn't have a name for, and then the silence coming back in afterward. That's you. That's you. Your whole life. You've been ringing in rooms and never once heard what everyone else heard. You feel a little vibration sometimes. That odd sense that something shifted when you walked in. That half second of a stranger's eyes staying a bit too long and you can't identify it. So you tell yourself is nothing or you tell yourself is you being weird and you move on. Meanwhile, the sound of you is out there, traveling, landing in people, living in their wake. You have never been able to hear yourself. That's not a flaw. That's just physics. That's what being the bell codes. Now let me tell you about the room because I don't know your life, so I want you to listen for the one that makes your stomach drop. For some of you, it was one person and one other person, just two of them. Some were ordinary, a car, a kitchen. The end of night when everyone's tired and honest. Your name came up and it wasn't a passing mention. It became the whole conversation. For some of you, it was a group, and that's a different kind of moment. Because in a group, there's usually one person who stays the true thing for who says the true thing first, and then something breaks open and everyone starts agreeing. That happened. Somebody said it, and instead of it landing awkwardly, other people went, yeah, actually, yeah. That's the version some of you are living in right now without knowing it. For some of you, it was someone talking to a person you never met, someone outside your circle entirely, and that's the most revealing version because people don't perform for strangers about someone the stranger will never meet. There's no reason to exaggerate. That was just true, said plainly to a person with no stake in it. And for some of you, honestly, it wasn't even a conversation with anybody. It was them alone. In the car, at the sink, in the dark before sleep, and it came out of them anyway, out loud to nobody, which is somehow the loudest version of all of them, because that's not a person trying to impress anyone. That's a person who couldn't hold something in anymore, whichever one just made you feel something that's yours. Hold it. We're coming back to it. Now we have to go to the tender part because there is a reason a message like this is even necessary. There is a reason you need a stranger's voice to tell you something everyone around you already knows. Somewhere in your life, you got the idea that you're the one people settle for, not the first choice, the reasonable choice, the one people are fond of, the one who's nice looking, the phrase, the specific phrase, with the little pause before it. You've been in the presence of someone striking and felt yourself dim, automatically without deciding to, like a reflex you were born with. You untagged photos, you caught your reflection at a bad angle and let it ruin an hour. You got a compliment and immediately explained why it wasn't accurate. You do that, don't you? You correct people who compliment you, and there is a quiet other thing under all that. Some part of you decided a long time ago that if you were really landing on people, you'd know by now. Somebody would have made it obvious. Somebody would have been unable to hide it, and nobody has, so it must not be there. I want to be gentle here, but I also want to be direct. You've been using other people's silence as evidence about your own work, and that evidence is unusual. It's junk. It proves nothing because here's what silence actually means. And this is the part that changed everything. People go quiet around what affects them most. That's how humans work. When something mildly pleases us, we say so easily. It costs nothing. Nice shirt. You look good today. Easy, breezy, out it comes. But when something genuinely lands on us, when someone actually gets in, we go careful. We go still. We hold it. Because now saying it out loud costs something. Now saying it out loud gives them power. Now saying it out loud makes it real. And once it's real, you have to do something about it. So people sit on it, sometimes for years, sometimes forever. You have been surrounded by careful people, and you read careful as uninterested. You weren't uninterested, handling something, and think about who goes the most quiet. It's never the person who feels a little. The person who feels a little is relaxed. They compliment you easy. They joke, they're comfortable, nothing's at stake. The person who feels a lot is the one who gets strange, short answers, too formal, weirdly serious around you, and they're funny with everyone else. Or the opposite, over casual, almost cold, a little distant in a way you can't explain because you know they're not like that with other people. You had that with someone. You know exactly who came to mind just now. You filed that under, they don't like me much. We file it. That behavior is not distance. That behavior is effort. That is a person spending energy in real time to look normal in front of you. And looking normal costs nothing unless something is happening underneath. Nobody has to try to be casual around someone they feel nothing for. Is it the sign of nothing? Awkwardness is a sign of something real. And now let me tell you what actually got said in the room. When the carefulness slipped, it didn't start deep. These things never do. It started at the surface, the normal stuff, appearance stuff, the kind of thing anybody says about anybody. But then it went somewhere else. And this is the part that matters. Because what came out wasn't really about your face at all. They talked about how you move, not how you look. How you move. The way you walk into place and don't scan it for approval, the way you sit, the way you don't feel silence just to be feeling it. The way you don't perform, and somehow that makes everyone else in the room aware of how much they perform. They talked about your face when you're not aware of it, when you're listening, when you're thinking about something, when you're mid-laugh and not managing it, the version of your face, the one you never seen, because you have never once seen your own on pose face. That's the one they described. They talked about how you make a room feel, and they got stuck there. That's the part they couldn't explain. And I want you to know they tried. They kept reaching for words, and the words kept being too small. There was just something about them. The sentence that you'll use those enormous sentences that people say when the actual thing has no vocabulary attached to it. And then somebody said the line, the one that changed the temperature of the whole conversation. Some version of. I don't think they have any idea that one because that's the thing that gets people. That's the specific thing about you that lands hardest. That is not on purpose, that you're not working it, that you have no idea what you do, and that lack of awareness is somehow the most attractive part of the entire package. It reads as real, and people are striving for real. They can spot manufactured from a mile away, and they're exhausted by it. And then you walk in, not trying, not calculating, and something in them just opens. They said it out loud in front of somebody, and that's the strike. That's the bell. Now let's talk about what it did to them because I promise you this part, and this is where it gets good. Before that moment, they had a system. Everybody has a system. You keep the thought unofficial. You keep it in the vague part of the mind where nothing has to be decided. As long as it's just a feeling, it's manageable. You can be around the person. You can be normal. You can go home and not think too hard about it. That's how they'd been operating comfortably for a while, for longer than you'd guess. And then their own voice said it in a real room, in a real air, and another human being heard that and reacted. You cannot go back from that. That's the whole point of the bell. The sound is out, so what happened next is exactly what always happens next. First, there was that hot second of exposure. That's why did I just say that out loud feeling? Then the replaying that night in bed, going over the words they used and the way their voice sounded when they used them. And then the thing that really finishes a person, they realize they meant it more than they knew. That's the trap of saying something honest. You don't just reveal it to the room, you reveal it to yourself. They found out how they felt by listening to themselves say it. And once you know how you feel, you can't go back to not knowing. That door doesn't reopen. You can't unfeel something. You can't unhear your own voice saying it. You can decide not to act on it. You can decide to be busy. You can decide to be saying nothing for a year, but you cannot go back to the version of yourself that hadn't admitted it yet. The person is gone. They killed him themselves in a one sentence in a room you weren't in. And after that, everything about how they see you changed. Now they noticed you every time in a way they weren't noticing before or were refusing to notice. Now there is a small internal event every time your name comes up in conversation, and other people around them have started to catch it. The half second of extra attention, the way they get quieter or busier or suddenly more interested in their phone. Now, when they're in a place where you might be, some part of them is scanning, not on purpose, it just runs. And here is the thing about that kind of pull, it doesn't sit still forever. Feelings that have been spoken out loud have a completely different life expectancy than feelings kept inside. Inside, a feeling can start quietly, out loud, in front of witness. It gets fed, it grows, and eventually a person carrying that starts to move. They get closer. They show up where you are. They reach out about something small and pointless. They find a reason. You may have already felt the first small movements, something that seemed random, something you dismissed. Go back and looked at it again with different eyes. But now, and this matters more than any of that. So come close for this part. Let's talk about what you did to earn this because I don't want you to thinking this is luck. It isn't. The thing they described, that presence, that realness, that thing they couldn't name, you built that quietly over years. Nobody handed it to you. You built it every time you decided not to perform. Every time you were the only person in a room not putting on the show. Those years you thought were wasted, where you were just surviving, just being decent, just getting through, because that's where realness actually comes from. It comes from being the same person when there is no audience, and you being the same person when there is no audience for a very long time. You build it by not going hard. That's the big one. Things happen to you that could have made you cold. You know exactly what I'm talking about. You had every reason to armor up and you stayed soft. And softness is the thing people feel when they get close to you. It's why they relax around you, why they tell you things, why they end up saying more than they meant to. Your softness is why the guard came down in that room in the first place. Do you understand that? The reason they were honest about you is that you are the kind of person people become honest around. That's not an accident of that moment. That's your whole character showing up on your behalf. In a room you weren't even in, and you built it by paying attention to people. That's the quietly one nobody credits. You listen. You actually listen, not the waiting to talk kinds. You remember that small thing nobody mentioned once. You notice when a person's energy drops in a room and you adjust toward them without announcing it. People cannot always name that when it's happening to them, but they can feel it and they walk away from you feeling slightly better than they felt before. This is important, and they don't know why. So they attach to feeling to your face, your voice, your presence. That's a huge part of what got described in that room. They thought they were describing how you look. They were describing how it feels be seen by you, and you kept your face, you kept your ordinary unposed and managed face while the whole world was busy manufacturing new ones. That takes a quiet kind of courage nobody gives out awards for it. It is the reason your face reads as true. It is the reason is the one they talked about. So here is your name. That's the real one. The one that explains every strange, unreadable reaction you ever gotten from another being. You're the struck bell, not the loud one. Not the one working for attention. The one that just gets wrong by walking in, by sitting down, by laughing at something without checking who's watching. And then the sound goes out over the whole town while the bell stands there wondering if anything happened at all. And this is the part I want you to actually keep because it doesn't only apply to the one person in the one room. It's bigger than them. You have been ringing your entire life. Every room, every job, every gathering you left early thinking you didn't matter that night. There are people out there right now carrying a version of you they never told you about. There are people who describe you to their friends. There are people who thought of you today, briefly, with warmth, and you will never know about it. That's not sad. That's just how it works. That's the bell not hearing its own tone. The silence you've been reading as your verdict was never a verdict. It was distance. It was the sound already gone, already out, already living in people you can't see from where you're standing. So come back with me to the beginning, to the room you weren't in. You weren't there. You're probably never hearing the recording of it. And you don't need to anymore because you know what kind of moment it was. It was a strike. It was someone's guard slipping and the truth coming out in their own voice. And a sentence going out into the air that cannot be called back, cannot be unsaid, cannot be put back into the metal. They said it, it's out, it's still traveling. So here's the only thing I'll ask you to do, and it is simple and it's small and it's everything. Stop trying to heal yourself. You can't. You're the bulb. That's never been your job. Your job is the thing you already been doing perfectly without knowing it. Walk in, be real. Don't perform. Don't try to make the room comfortable. Don't correct people when they compliment you. Just let the sound go where it goes. Stay exactly as you are. That's the whole instruction. Stay exactly as you are because this the you that isn't trying is the one they couldn't stop talking about. And it's not fading. Sounds like they don't fade, they travel.